There was a young man named Kiran who lived in a quiet village nestled between lush hills and tranquil rivers. His life, at first glance, seemed peaceful. He had a loving family, a small farm to tend, and a modest home that was more than enough to satisfy his needs. But despite this, Kiran was plagued by a constant barrage of thoughts. Thoughts that swirled around his mind like a storm. It was an early morning when the realization hit him. As he sat on his porch, sipping hot tea, his mind was already racing. Did I water the plants properly yesterday? What if it rains today? Did I remember to lock the barn? Oh, I forgot to fix the roof. What if something bad happens to my family? The worries piled on, one after the other, never giving him a moment's peace. Kiran was tired of it. He wanted to be free of the constant noise in his mind, but he didn't know how. The thoughts felt like an endless treadmill he could never get off. He had heard stories of monks and sages who lived in complete calm and peace. But how could he, a simple farmer, ever achieve that? One fateful day, as Kiran walked into market, he encountered an old wanderer. The man was dressed in simple robes, with a face that looked both weathered and serene. His eyes sparkled with wisdom, as though he had seen the world unfold in all its beauty and tragedy. Intrigued by the calmness radiating from the stranger, Kiran decided to approach him. "Excuse me, sir," Kiran said hesitantly. "I can't help but notice how peaceful you seem. My mind is always cluttered with worries. How do you stay so calm?" The wanderer smiled, his eyes softening. The mind," he said, his voice warm and full of understanding. "It is like a wild horse that runs without direction. But if you learn how to tame it, the horse will carry you with grace and strength." Kiran looked puzzled. "But how can I tame it? My thoughts never stop." The wanderer leaned in closer and spoke with a gentle but firm tone. "Start by becoming aware of your thoughts. Acknowledge them without judgment, but do not attach to them. Just observe." With that, the wanderer handed Kiran a small stone and continued. "This stone will be your reminder. Whenever your mind begins to race, hold this stone and take a deep breath. Focus on the present moment, not on what was or what might be." Kiran took the stone, though he wasn't entirely sure how it would help. The wanderer smiled again and disappeared into crowd, leaving Kiran to ponder his words. Over the next few days, Kiran tried to follow the wanderer's advice. At first, it felt awkward. He would hold the stone in his hand when he started to feel anxious, but his mind would quickly wander back to the same worries. What if my crops fail this year? What if I don't make enough money? What if something happens to my children? The cycle of thoughts seemed endless. One afternoon, as Kiran worked in the fields, he realized something. The more he resisted the thoughts, the stronger they seemed to become. The harder he tried to push them away, the more they clung to him. In that moment, he had an epiphany. The key wasn't to fight the thoughts, but to accept them and then let them go. He took a deep breath and, instead of trying to silence his mind, he allowed the thoughts to come and go like clouds passing in the sky. Yes, I may worry about my crops. Yes, I may fear for my family. But these thoughts don't define me. They are just thoughts. I don't have to hold on to them, he whispered to himself. From that day forward, Kiran became more mindful of thoughts that arose in his mind. He didn't try to force them away, but simply observed them, letting them drift by like the wind. Gradually, he felt a shift within himself. The mind's chatter became less oppressive. Kiran found that he could still perform his daily tasks without being constantly consumed by worry. One day, as Kiran walked through the village, he passed a group of children playing by the river. Their laughter echoed through the air, pure and joyful. Kiran paused and watched them for a moment. He noticed how fully they were immersed in their game. There were no worries, no anxieties, only the present moment. In that instant, Kiran realized something profound. Children had an uncanny ability to be fully present. They didn't get lost in the past or future. They simply were living each moment as it came. And Kiran had been so caught up in his own mind. He had forgotten to live like that. He smiled to himself, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. The wanderer had given him the tools to tame his mind, but it was his own decision to live in the present that would make the biggest difference. Each day, Kiran made an effort to bring his attention back to the present moment. He'd listen to the birds singing, feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, and appreciate the beauty in the simplest of things. The more he focused on the present, the less room there was for wasteful thoughts. He found joy in his work, in his family, and in the world around him. Kiran no longer sought perfection, nor did he worry about what the future might hold. He understood that life was uncertain, but it was also beautiful in its unpredictability. Years passed, and Kiran's life continued to evolve. He still worked hard on his farm, but the worries that once consumed him no longer had power over his peace of mind. Whenever he felt anxious or stressed, he would take a deep breath, remember the stone, and center himself in the present moment. His family noticed the change too. They marveled at how calm he'd become, how his presence felt like a safe harbor amidst the storms of life. One day, as Kiran sat on the porch, looking out at the sunset, he reflected on his journey. The wanderer's wisdom had been the spark, but his commitment to living in the present had been the true transformation. He had learned that wasteful thoughts, those endless worries about things he couldn't control, had no place in his life. Kiran had finally tamed the wild horse of his mind, and in doing so, had found a deep and lasting peace. His life, once clouded by endless worries, was now filled with moments of stillness, joy, and clarity. And in the quiet of his heart, he knew that the journey of mindfulness had only just begun.